You just know someone's a Chad when you're holding an angle with your sights trained at the corner and this guy comes swinging out the corner and instantly head taps you straight away. And there's nothing you can do to stop that. Or is there? Now, there's been a lot of talk on social media about pig's advantage and how this affects the player base and if there's any ping involved or internet latency or whatever. I'm going to try and make this video to explain why pig's advantage isn't always the case or why ping isn't always the case. So hopefully this kind of squashes any sort of misconceptions. So in this video, I'm going to try and explain to you what people think pig's advantage is and why it's not always the case when you die. So the situation in which this usually happens is when player 1 is passive and holding the angle, but player 2 is aggressive and pushing the angle. Sometimes you don't even see the player. He comes on the corner seemingly pre-firing and you have zero time to react. This is what you would call pig's advantage. And it gets even worse with higher ping on both of the players. So what happens with high ping when a player comes on a corner or peeks a guy, the server has to accept the information from the player that's peeking and then give it to the player that's standing still, right? So it has to sort of go through stages, right? It goes from player to server to player again. And if a player has a higher ping, the player standing still will see them later than what the other player sees them. So by the time the player with the high ping comes on the corner, the player who's holding the angle already gets shot. He's already being shot before he even sees that player. But it goes both ways too. If a player is running behind a corner or behind cover, the player who is holding the angle or shooting will have more of a chance to actually get the kill because on their screen, they're still there. But on your screen, you're around a corner, you're gone, right? But you still die behind cover. If you both have high ping, that's exasperated even more, right? Because there is a longer round trip time because it's going to take more time from the peeking player to the server and then a lot more time from the server to the holding player. So there's just so much more time in between what you see versus what actually happens. Right. So in this example, I just made the ping bigger just to sort of show you what ping I was on at the time. And you can see I swing out the room and these guys are still aiming at the door, but I'm shooting these guys and they have no idea. Essentially, what I would assume is no idea that I'm actually out the door yet. They're not really reacting to me. You see, they just stand there. They're just like, what? And then suddenly they start shooting me because I'm suddenly in their face, but they're already taking damage and they're already dead. And this clip was exactly right after I shot those two guys out of the room. This guy comes on the corner. I literally don't even see him before I feel like I'm getting shot. Like it's happened so fast. So it's kind of crazy to see the difference between the ping and how that works. I'm blacked out. Look, I'm fine. Can't see him. I have never seen him on my screen, and I've been hit 3 times now. It's because I'm moving. I'm like moving around, and he's coming out of here. So I am always behind. My movement is a meter to my left because I'm moving right. My server guy is on my left here. I'm moving this way and my server guy is moving here, right? So he sees my server guy, shoots the server guy. My screen client side is here. So we're just moving around like that. This is server, this is client. We're just moving like that. Obviously, it's exasperated by ping. You know, if I was to have 100 ping and he was to have 100 ping, it would be even fucking worse. It'd be so bad. So that's why the peeking player has such an advantage. I'm putting myself in situations where I don't kill the guy on my first peek. So then I start to go behind cover and then that's when I get fucked. And I feel like I'm getting screwed a lot because I'm missing my shots the first time on my peek, which is where I should have the advantage, which is what I do. But then I go behind cover, then I have the disadvantage because he sees me after I've gotten behind cover on my client. On the server, I'm not even behind cover, but on client, I am. On my side, I am. So from that stream clip, you can kind of see the difference between when a player is peeking versus when a player is going into cover. And that is the issue there. Now, with all that out of the way, I'm going to show you a way of countering players flying out the corner, not being able to react fast enough. This is why players do it. That's why they do it. This is why I personally do it as well. Your actions just aren't fast enough. Now, granted, this tip might not be the most mind-blowing tip that you've heard, but it makes perfect sense. And I see so many people not doing it and being punished by this. I don't want to do this, do I? Nice nade. Ah, gotcha. So I just played you the full clip just there. I'm going to try and sort of explain why I think the Peek's advantage wasn't used here, or wasn't a thing that I tried to abuse. And then I'm going to show the other player's point of view and explain what he did. So I think he throws a nade. There's a nade there. Nice nade. And then I use a sound. Ah, gotcha. To peek out there, obviously, right? It's fairly simple. There's nothing crazy going on there. I just use the nade sound to kind of mask my steps towards the corner, so that he doesn't either pre-fire me or expect me to come on the corner at that time. I was a bit late on the peek as well, actually. So to be fair, that was a bad peek from me. I probably should have died there. And yeah, in reality, it was a pretty fast peek anyway. So this is Vovaka TV, Vovaka_TV. Here, I was fighting him on labs. He was the guy that shot me a while back and ran over. I knew exactly what he was doing because I knew that he was HK Chad. So I knew he was coming for me. And I wanted to sort of like counter that aggression with some aggression. Here, he throws a nade. That's the nade that we heard, obviously. The nade obviously hit the top of the roof there. So you can kind of see what happened there in a sense, is that I swung out and his aim just wasn't quite on me. He was always kind of trailing my head or my torso. He was always trailing it. If you saw, his aim was right on the corner. The corner is here. You see, the corner is right here, and he's right on the corner. He's literally, his dot is on the corner. Now, you might think that this is fine, right? This is good because that is the closest point at which a player can come from. It would be okay if I was going to lean peek it and peek out like that, peek a slow peek. So if we slow it down, you can see here. You can see there, he was always behind me or to the left or right, because I come out, then he reacts. So I come out, then he reacts, and then I move back. It's doing that all the time. What I would say, really, to Vivaka or to anyone, really, is be aiming further right of the corner, or just out of the corner to where they're going to peek. And then once you react, your sights will be literally on their body, right? Obviously, this is different when someone's lean peeking out of the corner because they're not swinging out the corner. It depends on the player, really. But in most cases, players will sort of jiggle peek or swing out of the corner and fight you sort of head on. And by the time the players come out the corner, you can see his first bullet was to the left of me, and then after that just couldn't quite catch it. That is one of the only ways to really counter that. The only way is to just not trust the reactions. Obviously, with the latency, the ping, even if you're on your own servers on a low ping, there's still latency between you and the server and the other player. So there's still some latency there, which adds on to the reaction time of yourself. Just aim further away from the corner. That's all I've got to say. Just aim further away from the corner, and that will help. But other than that, there's not really much else you can really do. Hopefully this helps. Again, it's not the biggest tip, it's not the best tip, but it gets you thinking. So just think more when you're in these engagements, and think more about where your aim is and your reaction time, and it should help you out. As you saw from the clips, I do stream on Twitch from Monday to Saturday at 10 a.m. BST, that's UK time, or 11 a.m. CEST European time. So if you want to come out, say hi, give us a follow, then feel free to do so.